white, blue, black, red, green. Long ago, the colors lived in harmony. With kind of lived in harmony, sort of. At least, I don't know. Just start the show. All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome to the complete set review for Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Hey, you're a real airbender.
Yes, I am, and we're doing all the cards here in the set over the course of a bunch of sections. We did white already. Now we're doing blue. Constructed, limited, every card, giving out all the awards you know and love. Also, I want to remind you guys that I'll be in Vegas in a few weeks, all right? And I'll play some poker, but I'll be there for the regional championship. SGCon, gonna be a lot of fun. Modern coverage, we got Mani and Xian, which is gonna be really fun to work with them. I've worked with them before. And gonna be great. It'll be a great event. If you're queued for the RC, awesome. If you're not, there's LCQs, and there are a ton of awesome events. It's a 10K Riftbound event, a bunch of other games, a bunch of great Magic events. So hope to see you there. All info at starcitygames.com/SCGCon. Let's get into blue, into our set review, and do our thing. With Accumulate Wisdom. Right off the bat, best in show. This card is bonkers. I think this card is incredible. So we see a lesson here. Of course, lessons were first introduced in Strixhaven when there was the learn mechanic, and the learn cards would get a lesson card from your sideboard. There are no learn cards in this set. Lesson is just a subtype that counts about things like this, kind of a way to count spells in your graveyard. Strixhaven is coming up in a few sets down the line, so you may see more learn cards in the future. But for now, they're just a subtype. And this card is wild. 2 mana for an instant. Look at the top 3, 1 to your hand, rest to the bottom. So, Anticipate. We have Impulse. We had Impulse legal for a while. Anticipate is not a good enough card, but it is not that far off the bar. And then if you have 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard, you just freaking draw 3 cards. 2 mana instant speed, draw 3 is preposterous, all right? And now, of course, this won't matter if the other lesson cards aren't good. There are a lot of good lessons strewn about in blue and red, with some in other colors too. But I think this card is an absolute banger. There are 35 lessons in the set. There are an absolute ton. You don't need that many. It's self-perpetuating where it counts itself too. So the first one you cast is probably going to be an Impulse. But then later on, draw 3, get another one, draw 3. They play into each other. Really, really good stuff. So huge fan of this card. I think it's an absolute banger. It does need to have a deck that like wants to play this package of lesson cards. But I think this card's great. Really, really good. Awesome. In limited, it's phenomenal as well. Shouldn't be too hard to turn on. In limited, there's a lot of lessons cards there too. Card's great. Really, really good. Big fan. Card's awesome. Accumulate Wisdom. Starting out with a heater here for our blue Avatar set review. Next up is Benevolent River Spirit. We have 2 mana for a 4/5. Additional cost to cast is Waterbend 5. The Waterbend mechanic is kind of a weird one where it's not a mechanic that does a thing, it's a costing mechanic. And Waterbend simply means you can pay 5 mana by either tapping mana, tapping a creature, or tapping an artifact. So you can tap artifact, creature, 1. That's 5. So kind of like Invoke, Improvise. Has flying and ward 2. And when it enters, you scry 2. So this card is a pretty damn good limited card. You know, Convoke / Improvise / just play big flying idiot. Ward 2 is great. Scrying 2 is great. If you are, doing some sort of like, blue-white ally tokens and whatever, kind of cool. Blue is a little tough, but pretty nice. There are also ways to kind of do it in standard with like Helping Hand, like worse than Oculus, But yeah, really, really good card. I think this card's phenomenal in limited. Not like, I don't know. It's phenomenal if you're doing the thing. If you're playing a deck with a lot of creatures in it, this card seems great. Even just casting it for like 4 or 5 and tapping creature or 2 is pretty nice too. So card's nice. Not quite Kappa Cannoneer, but pretty cool limited card. Constructed, probably not. And maybe if you're playing like a bunch of clues, something like that, but probably not. But for limited, this card's a banger. Really, really nice. Cool art too. Boomerang Basics, another lesson card. 1 blue for, unfortunately, a sorcery. Probably better that way though, right? Turn target non-land permanent owner's hand, and if you controlled that permanent, draw a card. So we have a Void Snare, just a sorcery speed, a bounce effect. And Void Snare has seen play before in like Vintage and Legacy and stuff. It's just the cheapest 1 mana way to bounce a hate card. And then if you bounce your own thing, you draw a card. So if you try and do like, some value stuff with ETB creatures or whatever, kind of cool. Sorcery speed here is clearly the kicker. If this card was an instant, it would be redonkulous. Like redonkulous. As an instant, it is just merely okay. I think that sorcery speed bounce a thing is not really good enough. So I'd want to be utilizing the draw card part of this if I were to play this in limited or constructed, if that's even a thing. That being said, it is just a cheap removal lesson. So if you're just trying to bounce things and power up your whatever it's called, accumulate wisdom, that's not crazy. It is certainly a synergy piece there. And then it also is good against tokens. It is good against earthbended, lands or so on and so forth. So it's kind of cool, honestly, pretty cool card. And then there is also precedence to start bouncing your own things like Nurturing Pixie and Starmistress Talent, so on and so forth. So this card is probably a little better than it looks, honestly. But yeah, not the most exciting. I think this being a sorcery is obviously, being a 1 mana sorcery is pretty telling that like they were very careful with this card, which means it might actually have some legs, which is cool too. So cool card. Yeah, it's nice, good stuff. Crashing Wave, blue sorcery. Additional cost, Waterbend X. Tap up to X creatures, then distribute 3 stun counters among tap creatures your opponents control. I love this card. This card's a great design. Great limited design. One of the issues these sort of tappy effects have in limited is that, they're tempo positive, card negative. And if you're not like utilizing them to kill your opponent like really, really fast or to like stay alive and draw cards, they're pretty sketchy. This one having the flexibility of tapping 0 things. You can just like blue, they attack you with a 5/5, just put 3 stun counters on it. Or you can trap multiple things and tap down the line, tap their whole board. It can tap stun. You can tap 5 things and stun 1 3 times. The modality here is really, really cool and really, really fun. And I think this is a really cool limited card. Honestly, I think this card's really, really cool. You want to be, tempo-y in some way with your draft deck. But yeah, this card's really cool. Really cool limited card. Constructive sort of tap effects aren't really good enough, but cool limited card. Ember Island Production. 5 mana for a sorcery. Choose one. Make a token that's a copy of a creature you control, except it's a 4/4 and not legendary. Or make a token that's a copy of a creature that's opponent controls, except it's not legendary, it's 2/2. Not so great. Typically, clones that copy your own stuff are just kind of sketchy. It also targets, so you risk just like them killing it in response, just getting absolutely blown out. Getting a 2/2 version of their creature is not very exciting either. Kind of cute flavor, kind of amusing card. I think this card is like unplayable constructed and then probably a bad limited card, but it's okay. It's cool. Not every card needs to be good. First Time Flyer. 2 mana for a 1/2 flyer. This creature has +1/+1 as long as there's a single lesson card in your graveyard. Just one. That's all you need. And you have a 2/3 flyer for 2. Very, very nice card. Definitely a very, very solid common. Not Bombin Common, but definitely a very solid card. It's also an ally that matters for blue. Won't matter as much in blue. But yeah, this card's great. As long as you're playing some lessons, this card's really, really nice. Constructed, no. A vanilla 2/3 flyer for 2 wouldn't be good enough, but nice limited card. Flexible Waterbender. 2 mana for a 2/5. That's a big booty.
Good lord.
It's got Vigilance. It's got Waterbend 3. This creature has base power toughness 5/2. These cards are often pretty bad. So this card is probably not very good. Also, Waterbending to give your creature, making it into a 5/2 is very bizarre, honestly. Just a really, really weird combination of effects. I think this card is mostly pretty bad, and you should probably never play it in your draft decks. But, I mean, maybe a 5 offices was a really good break point, we could see. But Forecasting Fortune Teller. 2 mana 1/3. ED make a clue. Not a bad card. We had Hard Evidence, the sorcerer that made an 0/3 and made a crab in some Modern Horizon set. That card was fine. This card seems fine too. It's an okay blocker, blocks 1/1s, makes clue. It's fine. Fine limited card. Constructed, no, but super fine limited card. Does also help you waterbend too with your extra artifact in play. We have Geyser Leaper. 5 mana for a 4/3 flying, Waterbend 4, draw a card, then discard a card. It's not so good. 4/3 flyer for 5 is pretty untenable. I think it's almost a non-starter in limited these days. So if you're like desperate for a way to win the game and you're like slow control deck or whatever, sure, this can do that, I guess. But I think for the most part, this card's pretty bad. Giant Koi. This is the blue land cycler, and as I mentioned in excuse me, as I mentioned in the white section, there are land cyclers for each color of the set, and they're actually good. 6 mana for a 5/7 Waterbend unblockable. That's nice. This thing blocks well. It wins the game in a board stall. It's got really good art. This card's nice. Like, we're used to land cyclers being really bad in the last few years. This one is not. This card's great. Probably not like a super high pick or anything, but that is a monstrous body. And one of the most important things when you're evaluating a card for draft is looking at how good it defends the turn you play it. This thing has a chonker badonkadonk butt. Geyser Leaper has a small, pathetic butt. It's as simple as that, folks. Just look at the butts and all will be super clear, right? No. Gran. Wake up, Gran. We got a sleeper card here. Gran. Speaking of butts. Wait, what? No, Jim. No, don't do that. One blue for a 1/2, human peasant ally. Whenever Gran becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. So that's like really good. Just 1/2 for 1 looter. That's like sweet. It's also becomes tap, not attacks. So like you can tap it to various waterbending effects, whatever else it might be. This card's great. And then it also has non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast as long as there are 3 or more lessons in your graveyard. Are you starting to see the lesson thing come together? Because this is a big part of that as well. Get some cards to your graveyard, which this obviously does for you. And then making all your spells cost 1 less is ridiculous. That is an extremely powerful effect. So now we have Ancestral Recall as that first lesson instead of it being 2 mana, draw 3. So super awesome. I think this card's a banger. I think it's a good limited card. I think it's a card that definitely has legs and constructed. I think this card's really, really good. Card's awesome. Big fan of Gran. Me and Gran get along. All right. Sleeper card in blue is Gran. Pick him up. I like the art too. I really like the colors in the art contrasting against the blue frame. Good stuff. Like that. Well, it ain't much, but it is honest work. 1 blue for an enchantment aura. Enchants creature opponent controls. When it enters, tap it and remove all counters from it. But the creature loses all abilities, becomes a citizen, but it taps for colorless. Not ideal, right? So unlike previous versions of this effect, whatever the hell it was called, I forgot. Making your opponent's creature into a mana dork is kind of rough. You know, templating here makes sense in a set with Earthbending where like they make their land into a 4/4 and you tap it and lock it down and remove the counters. And now you've like gotten around the Earthbending safety mechanism of like going back to your hand. So I get it. But giving them a mana dork's pretty bad. So I think this card is significantly worse than Witness Protection. And because of that, it's a card I don't really want to play in my deck, honestly. So that is that. Iguana Parrot. 3 mana for a 2/2 flying Vigilance Prowess. I like the power creep Windrakes in this set. White had one, now blue has one also. This card's pretty good. You know, if you're playing a lot of spells, this is a pretty reasonable card. It still doesn't block particularly well the turn you cast it. But it can attack for pretty decent chunks. They can block well later on too. So yeah, card's nice. Not a card I'm like clamoring to get in my draft deck, but I think if you're playing this card in your draft deck, you're not like sad about it, but not a high pick. Again, cool art. Invasion Submersible. 2 mana for a 0/0. ETB, bounce at a permanent to its owner's hand. Has exhaust 3 waterbend. Becomes a 3/3 creature with counters on it. So this card's cool. You know, this card, you can tap itself to help waterbend it, which is kind of cool. And it's 3 mana bounce a thing. It's an artifact. It's a 3/3. It's fine. Cool limited card. Nothing crazy. Just a cool card. Just like nuts and bolts kind of limited card. It'll quench you.
Hey, you're a real airbender.
That's the wrong button, but whatever. So Quench, it's just literally the card Quench as a lesson. Quench is not a great Magic card, but it is definitely a playable Magic card if you're getting some other upside on it. And triggering all the cards you've already talked about, Grand, the Ancestral Recall, is a pretty good upside, you know? So card's pretty nice. No, it's not Mana Leak, but it is, I think, in the context of wanting to get a lot of lessons in your deck, that's great. It's really, really good. Limited, same idea. You have things that care about lessons, sure. If not, it's not very good. But yeah, so cool. Katara, Bending Prodigy. 2 mana for a 2/3. Beginning of your end step. If Katara is tapped, put a counter on her. Waterbend 6, draw a card. It's a good limited card. You know, just like not hard to make this thing keep growing. She can grow herself by tapping to her own Waterbend ability. And drawing cards limited is great. Plays a lot with tokens and stuff. I imagine blue-white kind of ally token go wide's a pretty good place to be. And yeah, this card's good. Don't be fooled by the 6. It's a lot better than it looks. You know, if you have 3 or 4 bodies in play, you just say go, end step, tap 2 and 4 bodies, draw a card, make it bigger. That's awesome. So great limited card. Not good enough for constructed, as most of these uncommon legends aren't, but it's a nice draft card. Knowledge Seeker. 2 mana for a 2/1 Vigilance. Draw your second card each turn, put a counter on this, and when this creature dies, make a clue. Kind of a weird card because like the clue part doesn't. You need to have other ways to make it draw. The clue can't help you with it, but this card's fine. You know, not very exciting. Not a particularly exciting card because you can't really scale with it. It can only ever get 1 counter every turn, and pretty hard to trigger on your opponent's turn. But this card's fine. You know, just like play it, trade off with the 2-drop, get a clue. That's a pretty good rate. So fine limited card. The Legend of Kuruk. 4 mana for a saga is one of these mythic sagas in every color. It's telling a tale of some famous old airbender or bender in general. Not airbender, sorry. Clearly a waterbender here. I know what I'm talking about here, folks, all right?
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. I'm telling you.
I just do things.
But I think this card is past Avatar, sorry. This card's pretty sketchy. 4 mana for a scry 1 draw, and then scry 1 draw. Basically 4 mana scry 2 draw card at sorcery. Scry 4 draw, whatever. Scry summon, draw some amount of cards. Man, I stink, dude. Is not particularly great sorcery speed. Then you flip it over and you get to the backside, and we see Avatar Kuruk, which is a 4/3. Whenever you cast a spell, make a 1/1 colorless spirit token with this token can't block or be blocked by non-spirit tokens, kind of like this weird like shadow effect. So not being able to block is pretty relevant. And it has Exhaust, Waterbend 20, and Time Walk. Time Walk? Jeez, that's a lot. So kind of cool, but very, very expensive. 20 is a lot. You know, it's pretty big numbers. So I think this card's pretty bad overall. I think it's a good limited card. You know, draw some cards, make a body, yada, yada, yada. But constructed-wise, this card is not even close to playable. So, yeah, is what it is. The Lost Days. 5 mana for an instant lesson. Owner creature enchantment puts it into their library, second from the top, or on the bottom, and you make a clue. Not sure if a clue is worth a 5 mana removal spell. This is 5 mana for a bad kill spell, or 7 mana for a bad kill spell and draw a card. I think this card's pretty sketch. I think I would try pretty hard to not have this card in my draft deck, and then move on to the next card. Master Paku. 2 mana for a 1/3 Prowess. Master Paku becomes tapped. Target player mills X card, where X is the number of lesson cards in your graveyard. Kind of a fun little side quest in Limited here, where if you're playing a lesson deck and you're water bending, say you get 5 lessons in your graveyard, you just and mill them out. That being said, there isn't a particularly large amount of mill support in this set, so kind of weird. But a 1/3 Prowess for 2 also isn't the worst thing ever in Limited. So kind of an interesting, like, you know, side quest kind of limited card. Not the worst rate either way. Not playable constructed, but Can mill your own graveyard to get more lessons in there for your other effects, but like that's not really good enough in Constructed, I don't think. I mean, maybe it is, honestly. If you're looking for ways to your turn to power up your recall, could be a thing, but I don't know. We'll see. The Mechanist, Aerial Artisan, 3 mana for a 1/3. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, make a clue token. That's not bad. And tap it until end of turn. Target artifact token you control becomes a 3/1 flying construct artifact creature. It's okay. You know, making clues is nice. Making additional artifacts is nice. The 1/3 body for 3 is not nice. And then tapping, after being summoning sick to make a 3/1 flyer is also not particularly exciting. Card seems great and limited, where you don't mind the rate of just like getting some clues. But for Constructed, I don't think this card's good enough. It doesn't really do enough. It's cool, but eh. The North Pole Patrol. Perfect. We had the South Pole Patrol. The North Pole Patrol. 2 mana for a 2/3. Untap another permanent you control. And then Waterbend 3, tap a creature an opponent controls. So kind of just like your finicky tapper in blue. Untapping your own things to ramp or whatever is kind of cute, but not that exciting. And then being a weird, clunky tapper is okay in limited, but kind of fillery. So I think this card's only okay. Waterbending repeatedly every turn is like kind of tough. It's pretty taxing. So I don't know. Just think it's okay. Octopus Form. This card's gas. 1 blue instant lesson. Target you control gets ++1 against Hexproof on a turn and untap it. So this is just Shore Up. Or not Shore Up. Shore Up, right? Whatever. There's like a million of these cards. But this is just that. But it's also a lesson, which is very nice for trying to do lesson things. Don't know if like the lesson deck that wants to like be controlling will want this card. But having more cheap lessons, like this is just better than Shore Up because it does some other thing, which is cool, and that's quite powerful. Which Shore Up's already playable card. So very good limited card, very constructed card in the right kind of deck. It's just good. Otter Penguin. So mana for a 2/1. Draw your second card each turn. This gets +1/+2 and can't be blocked. Limited filler 2-drop. Doesn't battle very well. Just okay. Rowdy Snowballers. I can't say the plain English word, right? Of course.
Keep the change, you filthy.
The mana for a 2/2. When it enters, tap a creature opponent controls, but a stun counter on it. This is just your classic Frost Links or whatever kind of effect. Good and limited. It's an ally. Just a fine draft card. Nothing crazy. Good little tempo card. Honestly, a little small these days, being a 2/2, but it's fun. The Secret of Blood Bending. That is horrifying. Blood bending? Blue. Sorcery lesson. Additional cost to cast a spell. You may waterbend 10. If you control target opponent during their next combat phase. If a spell's additional cost was paid, you control that player during the next turn instead. It's a little Mindslaver action. And then you exile it. So that's pretty potent. Mindslaver is certainly a reasonable effect. That being said, this is unbelievably, unbearably expensive. And then blue to like try and mess a combat up is pretty sketchy as well. So I think this card is not very good. It's just, really expensive. Maybe a cool like commander card or something like that. Make them attack the other person or something like that. But that's not my department. So yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I think this card is not even worthy of being a trap card. Yeah, just kind of whatever. Serpent of the Pass. 7 mana for a 6/5. There are 3 or more lesson cards in the graveyard. Make cast as flash, and it costs 1 less for each non-creature, non-land in your graveyard. Kind of a banger. That Tolarian Terror school of like big dumb idiot for spell deck. Well sized. If it has flash, it's awesome. It definitely is a little lower than you might like on pure rate. There's the crab that like taps things, which is kind of cool. It already has flash. So I guess, yeah, and compared to that card, it's not super exciting, but it's a great limited card. Constructed, probably not, but it's closer than it looks, and it's a really good draft card. Soka's Haiku. 5 mana for a instant lesson. Counter spell, draw a card, mill 3 cards, and untap target land. feel like there's a reason why I was untaps a land. Someone said it. I don't remember. Oh, so it's a haiku, right? Right. It's a haiku. It's okay. That's right. Okay.
No, you can't. Don't even try.
Anyway, back to the non-poetry 101 section of the show. 5 mana counterspell draw card is, we already have that in Spider-Man, right? Doesn't Spider-Man have like the modal draw 3 or dismiss? So this card's pretty sketchy. Yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna move on from this haiku. This card kind of sucks. That's too many. Well, I'm not gonna try, whatever. Anyway, moving on to the blue shrine, we get Spirit Oasis. 3 mana for a shrine. When it enters, draw a card for each shrine you control. And every other shrine enters, draw a card. This is more what we're looking for when it comes to shrines, right? Just like do a thing, kill things, draw cards, awesome. Cassie doesn't like shrines, unfortunately. But yeah, kind of Guild Summit-esque. Oh my god, Cassian's really sad about the lack of shrines in the set. Really, really sad. He's a little sick, so. Yeah, if it's a shrine deck, this is the linchpin. Drawing a bunch of cards is great. That being said, this depends on how good the other shrines are for the most part. So kind of limited that factor. There are old shrines and old sets too, so it could be kind of a fun build around in the past or commander build around. But yeah, you know, card's good if it's other shrines, you get the idea. In limited, live the dream. I know I'm going to try and do it. Spirit Water Revival.
It's a trap.
We're a little past the point of casting divination, folks. Blue 1 for a sorcery. Additional cost to cast a spell, you may waterbend 6. 6 is a lot. Draw 2 cards. If a spell's extra cost was paid, instead shuffle your graveyard to your library, draw 7, no max hand size. So, I've seen some folks saying this is like a possible card for control decks. You play a few of these for like the late game and so on and so forth. Don't do that. I think this card's pretty damn bad. Blue 1 for divination is an unplayable cost in this day and age. When you have stock up available, for God's sakes, and then trying to tap in 9 mana or whatever to draw 7 is just like an absolute pipe dream. So I think this card is really, really good in a draft deck where you have like, divination's okay and limited, and then you have the ability to like, if the game's going long, just tap your shit and draw a bunch of cards. It's awesome. But constructed wise, unless you have some sort of deck that is literally vomiting out artifacts or creatures in some way, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. Trap card for blue, Water Spirit Revival. Sorry, folks. T.O. Spirited Glider. 4 mana for a 1/4 flyer. Whenever one or more creatures you control with flying attack, draw a card, discard a card, and we discard a non-land card this way. Put a counter on a creature you control. Connive. It's just connive, folks. All right. I don't know why we're making it weird, but
Pointless nostalgia.
yeah, card's fine, limited. Obviously conniving is great. It's a 1/4 flyer for 4, which is not great for constructed, but not quite Rafine, Scheming Seer, but good limited card. Pretty cool. Tiger Seal, 1 blue for a 3/3. Some really cool art. Vigilance. Beginning of your upkeep, tap this creature. Damn, that's tough. Draw your second card each turn, untap this creature. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze here. A 1 mana 3/3 is very appealing, obviously. But having to like constantly untap this thing every turn by drawing extra cards is pretty tough. Like, sure, you can play a bunch of ops or whatever. Unfortunately, sleight of hand doesn't actually draw a card. And cards have to like draw a card to make this work. So overall, a kind of a cute, fun design, but probably not good enough for constructed. And then limited, like, I don't think you can reliably trigger this enough to really make it work. So, I don't know. Not feeling it. Fun design. Pretty cool, but... Ty Lee, Chi Blocker. 3 mana for a 2/1 flash with prowess. Whenever Ty Lee enters, tap 1 creature. It does not untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Ty Lee. That's pretty good. 2/1 flash prowess. I think it's having flash is the important part. Without flash, it's pretty sketchy. But that's not bad. So it's a permanent lockdown. if you're playing against a deck that's light on removal spells, this is just a 2-1, you know, FTK basically. That being said, it doesn't rumble like particularly well. So like, you know, combat wise, it's also a weird prowess creature in that it's feels like you'd want to play it in a more creaturey deck, but prowess makes you want to play a bunch of spells too. So I don't know. I think this card is a fringe playable answer to certain situations and a really good limited card. Beyond that, it's, you know, which is not a bad place to be, honestly. You know, it's cool. The I'm gonna say it wrong. Unagai of Koshi Island. 5 mana for a 5/5 with flash. Has ward waterbend 4. Kind of cool to see an opposing waterbend cost. Your opponent will probably not be ready to pay. If your opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw 2 cards. That's something. That effect's gonna play pretty well. And 5/5 flash with a big ward effect. This card's kind of real. I think this card as like a control finisher is pretty sweet. Like, pretty well statted, has a nice ward cost, really, really punishing for your opponent. If they ever draw that extra card and you draw 2 cards of this, you're way above rate, which is great. And yeah, this card's pretty good. Bonkers limited card. Just 5/5 flash ward 4 in limited is ridiculous. But I think Constructive, this card's definitely got some legs. It is also a serpent for your summon Leviathan, which is cool too. But yeah, cool card. Likes the card a lot. I think it's quite good. Great limited card. Definitely has a chance constructed. Probably a card I'll play in my control decks or whatever. Be very happy about. Wan Shitong, Librarian. Yeah, no awards. No awards. Blue X, Bird Spirit, Flash Flying Vigilance. When it enters, put X plus the most win counters on him, then draw half X cards, rounded down. Whenever an opponent searches their library, put a counter on this and draw a card. So, I think as far as any non-fetch land format goes, Yanagi here is a much better control card than Wan Shitong. Just better rate, better card draw, more flexible, harder to deal with, and so on and so forth. That being said, in older formats, this card's pretty nice. You know, they crack a fetch on turn 2, you just blue, cast it as a 1-drop, draw a card, get a counter. It's pretty cool. So, I don't know what deck would want that kind of card, you know, like, but certainly a reasonable effect to be aware of. I think constructed-wise, though, this card, standard-wise, standard or even Pioneer, this card is less exciting than it looks. Just don't think it's that potent. There isn't a lot of searching happening and so on and so forth, and I don't know. So, I think this card's okay. Definitely overrated. Really good in limited, of course. Certainly good in fetch lands formats, but we will see. You know, we will see. I think as far as standard goes, this card is just okay. Don't get me wrong, it's certainly playable. I'm not saying this card's bad. You know, there's no trap card award here. We're not like taking a huge stance of this card being bad or anything like that. But I think this card's going to play worse than you think it does a lot of the time. So, but in limited, Windmill Slam. Waterbender Ascension. So we have, of course, one of these for each each bending color. So mana for an enchantment. Whenever creature you control does combat damage to a player, put a quest counter on this. Then if it has 4 more counters on it, draw a card. It has Waterbend 4. Creature can't be blocked this turn. So I think this card's pretty sketchy. No real huge immediate payoff because you don't draw yet. It does count multiple creatures. If you have 4 attackers at once, you'll be able to get that last trigger. But I think overall, this card's kind of sketchy. We already have Enduring Curiosity, folks. You know, just not very exciting. And the Waterbend part's pretty expensive too. So I think overall, kind of eh. In limited, even still in limited, kind of eh. You know, it's okay, but not thrilled. Waterbending Lesson. Teach me. 4 mana for a sorcery lesson. Draw 3. Then discard a card unless you Waterbend 2. It's a pretty good limited card. You know, tap two clues or 2 creatures or an extra land. Even just like draw 3, discard 1's totally fine. Being a sorcery makes it probably a non-player per constructed, but it's not like insane. I don't think if we really want to play some more lessons. But yeah, card's fine. It's, you know, kind of what you expect it to be. In limited, sorcery is a little rougher, but it's good. Waterbending Scroll. 2 mana for an artifact. 6 mana, tap a draw card. Costs 1 less to activate for each island you control. Another card that was not on the list as I looked over it last night. Yeah, I mean, that's a card. Like, that's definitely a card. This is the entry into the basic land type matters for blue. I mean, so 2 mana when you have 2 lands in play. Yeah, it's definitely slow. But this card gets going. It is quite exciting. Yeah, I don't know. If there's some sort of like draw go deck, I can see playing a few of these in it. That kind of deck is not really, really a thing any of these days anymore. But this card's kind of sweet. Right, not basic land, whatever. It's land type matters, so you can play it with your dual lands and stuff. But yeah, I think that like until you have 4 islands in play, this is pretty sketchy. If it's just like a Maze Mind Tome, awesome. But until that point, it's a little weird. That being said, in like a slow control deck and a slower matchup, this card's gonna be really, really good. So I think if you are playing enough islands to reliably activate this quickly, this is probably a good sideboard or like 1 or 2 of in a control deck, and gets better as things go on. Watery Grasp. We bombing, folks. Bombin Common here, just a good little removal spell. 1 blue, keep a thing tapped is nice. It doesn't tap itself, unfortunately. But the fact that it can water bend and just shuffle it in is quite good. So it can be, dump this thing on there, 2 turns later, get rid of it. Just flexible. Blue doesn't really get removal spells like this very often. So this does a pretty good job of just being able to kind of get the thing going. And a little bit of water bending help from your shitters or your artifacts is pretty cool. So I like the card a lot. Good little removal spell here in blue. Constructed, not playable. There are better options for this, but I think in limited, this is going to be a pretty good player as far as a removal spell for blue decks. So there you go, Watery Grasp. So, sorry, more stuff. Sorry. You, the Moon Spirit, 4 mana for a 3/3 flying vigilance. Waterbend 5 tap. You may cast a non-creature spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. UA, sorry. This is a weird one. So that effect is pretty damn powerful, right? Any non-creature spell, regardless of cost, Omniscience, Phyrexian Portal, Jeskai Revelation, there are some bangers out there. Of course, the problem is that you need to have your 3/3 for 4 untap safely and live with it, and then you probably want to have some artifacts or creatures in play to make it cheaper. And then it requires you to have it in your hand also. So kind of a weird card where like it does seem kind of weak, despite the payoff being so unbelievably powerful. I think you'd prefer to have Kona if you're trying to do this like cheaty effect. But it is quite potent. So I don't know, good limited card for sure, because just a fine body. But I don't think this card's good enough for constructed. It could also be like a way, say in your Kona deck, if they are playing, I don't even know. It's like it's so similar to Kona that like it's hard to even like create a scenario where you'd want this instead of Kona or vice versa. But yeah, I don't know. It's all right. So to recap, blue, Accumulate Wisdom is our best in show. Grand's our sleeper card. Wake up, Grandma. Spirit Water Revival is our trap card, and Watery Grasp is our Bombin Common. So black's coming up. You two folks love you. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's do this.